Silver and gold prices have skyrocketed. Now what? What does it mean? First of all, there's nothing that anyone can point to that gives any rationale for why it's happening. That makes it, kind of hard to swallow. But also, I mean, realistically, doesn't it make it more difficult when price skyrockets? If you talk to stackers long enough, you hear, hey, I want the price to go as low as possible so that I can back up the truck. Then that, coupled with the fact that most stackers don't sell any, silver or gold in general. I mean, true stackers, not collectors, not, stack electors, actual stackers. They're just trying to build up that weight. What happens when the price gets too high? Is there a price where it gets too high? I would say that in this environment where there's no real catalyst for gold or silver really to be doing, anything much price-wise. What do you mean, Chris? The debt's exploding, and of course gold and silver, it's the only salvation. You're going to have to be your own bank. Yeah, not so much. Not so much. I mean, that's been going on for a long time. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. I mean, is it the truth that, yes, the debt has exploded in the last 20 years? Absolutely. I mean, look at this explosion of debt. It's nothing new. So, people who are like, it's Biden, it's Trump. No, first of all, this has been going on for a long time. I mean, particularly since 9/11. I mean, the United States debt exposure has just completely gone off the rails. I mean, when you figure, how much was it? 10 billion a month we were spending on Afghanistan and Iraq when Bush left office. I mean, that kind of explains itself, right? I mean, that there's a lot there. But this whole thing, as far as how it pertains to gold and silver, again, there's just no real connection between gold and silver prices and whatever's going on in the world. It just never lines up because you hear these things, you hear something happen and people are like, gold and silver, it's why it's rising. The pandemic, people are flocking back to real money. No. Why did stocks go up then? What? Well, stocks and cheap money. No. Tell me how these things, really play into gold and silver. They can't tell you because the reality is there's no connection. Gold and silver are completely detached from anything rational, just like stocks are. Stocks, though, are much easier to understand because they're driven by cheap money. It's not the same with gold and silver prices. Cheap money, I mean, again, the debt exploded in 2020, no doubt about it. In 2020 alone, I think 30% of the national debt we created in 2020 alone, some crazy number like that. So, gold and silver prices rose like everything else, stocks, home prices, everything else. But here's the difference. Gold and silver came back down. Stocks kept going up. Yes, stocks had a downturn in 22, but then they just rebounded like a normal, stock downturn. Gold and silver prices, I mean, we have this run now, but what's it going to be, a couple weeks from now? Probably right back down to 23, 24, with no real change in the situation, no real rational thing where you can point to where it's like, this is why, the prices move like that. That's what makes it so difficult. There's so many things about money in general, not fiat versus silver money, but just monetary value, money, cash. Let's just stick with cash for now. That people just don't understand the mechanisms of how things work. Cheap money drives everything that we do. I mean, particularly like the stock market, real estate prices, all these things, that's driven by cheap money. What's cheap money? Low interest money. If I can borrow, at very low lending costs, then I can add value to that money. I can go start a business. I can go purchase something that will appreciate. I can go invest that money in something. If it's expensive to borrow, then it's harder because I have to make up at least the interest. So if the interest is 5%, whatever investment I got to make is got to return at least 5%, which involves more risk to get that level of return. So it's the same thing. I see a lot of people, regularly that, purchase, homes, for example. And, you hear a lot, I want to pay it off in cash. I want to put a huge down payment. What? Why? Are you going to live there? Yeah, I'm going to live there. That is the stupidest thing that you could possibly do. What do you mean? No, that's the smart. No, Dave Ramsey, that is not the smartest thing you could do. If you're going to live in a home, you want to put as little money into that home as you can. Why? Why would you do that? Because you're going to get the same value of living in that home whether it has a huge mortgage or whether you paid it in cash. You get no additional value. Yes, you're paying an interest cost, but again, as a stacker, as an enlightened monetary person, you of all people should know that you're paying it back with more and more worthless dollars, right? Why the hell would you take a dollar now, and pay that off when you could take more worthless dollars from the future and pay that off? Yes, you're going to pay an interest cost, but also if you understand anything about basic finance with regard to, financing homes and that kind of thing, right now, prices are insane. There is no reason for you to be paying these prices and putting that money in cash or in, today's value when you could finance as much of that as possible into the future. First, rates at some point will go down. Why? Because it's in the best interest of the powers that be that rates go down. Cheap money drives their growth. Cheap money makes money for rich people, not poor people. Like, make no mistake, the people who benefit from a low interest rate environment are wealthy individuals, not the peasants. But second to that, again, when rates go down, and they will at some point, banks fall all over themselves to refinance, mortgages, because they're basically taking that debt from another bank, or the loan servicer, and adding it to their, pile of crap that they go and put into mortgage-backed securities and other things. Yes, you pay a fee every time you refinance. However, again, none of that stuff matters in the short term, because you have to draw it back to the main theme, which is you are paying it back with more and more worthless dollars. That is the name of the game, and that transcends everything. Again, there's this funny thing in America where it's like we can only think about what's going on within our borders. This works in the entire world. Again, the money's going to be the currency is going to be worth less later. That doesn't mean that gold and silver are going to be a savior or a store of value. Really, you don't want something that stores value. You want something that exceeds inflation. What's going to do that? Stocks, other things that are going to do that. This kind of thing, it's a part of the portfolio. It's a part of the equation, but it's not the end all, the be all. It doesn't do everything. Stocks don't do everything either, but they have a lot of moving parts that can definitely benefit you. Same thing, like I said, with real estate. If you really understand how the game works, take advantage of it just like, wealthy individuals do. Don't live the peasant lifestyle of, I pay for everything in cash and I live to my means. Yes, that sounds great, but that's a mentality from a bygone age. These days, you want to borrow every single dollar that you can, but maximize the return on that borrowing so that you're paying that back efficiently, but also expanding your wealth through that borrowing. That's the way that people expand their wealth, not by paying things off in cash and not. No. That's not how large businesses work. That's not how anything works anymore. And that mentality, like a lot of the principles of gold and silver, have kind of gone by the wayside.